Hi everyone, welcome to IAG Cargo's first live webinar, Cargo Live. We're so excited to see so many of you joining us this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are. Over the next half an hour, we're going to be covering a range of topics, from how to book your freight online at IAGcargo.com in under 2 minutes to, then we'll be heading over to Frankfurt, where Vacutech will be joining us on the topic of high-tech solutions for your temperature-controlled shipments. And then we'll be heading over to Amsterdam. We'll be joined by Seabury Cargo with an industry update. But first, just a bit of housekeeping. So we will have a Q&A session at the end. So feel free to post your questions on the side in the comments box, or you can submit them to marketingteam@iagcargo.com. We'll also be recording this session and we'll be emailing out to those on our mailing list. If you'd like to join us at that mailing list, please do email the same email address, marketingteam@iagcargo.com. So let's get started. Let me introduce our first speaker. Most of you will know him. It's our Chief Commercial Officer, John Cheetham. Over to you, John.
Thanks, Nadia, and hello everybody. How exciting to be joining our first live stream today. So thank you very much for dialing in, or whatever the terminology is these days, but thank you for joining us. This is a great opportunity for us to share what we've been working on over these exciting times here at IAG Cargo. And the entire air freight industry itself remains incredibly busy and exciting, trying to keep goods moving, keep freight moving, keep trade enabled throughout this situation as we navigate through the pandemic. From our perspective, charter activity is extremely busy. We're fortunate; we have access to all the fleet of British Airways, Iberia, Aer Lingus, Level, and we're able to draw on that fleet to provide charter capacity as and when required. And we've seen a huge amount of demand for that, particularly from the automotive industry, but also other industries as well. I'm very proud that we're able to keep components moving, making sure that factories don't have to go through expensive shutdowns, and providing our customers with essential lift whenever it's required. Our regular flying schedule, both cargo only and passenger belly, continues to expand. We're working very hard to make sure that we have a truly global network available for you. And we continue to expand that. We're just announcing increases in frequencies from South Asia, Bombay and Delhi, and also increased frequency from Johannesburg as well. So that's great to see that we're able to satisfy some of the increased demand that we're seeing. Again, particularly in e-commerce, it's an area which has been growing throughout the pandemic for us, and I'm delighted that we're able to provide important capacity where it's required. Another area of focus for us, and very important and close to all our hearts, I'm sure, is supporting the vaccine rollout with our temperature-controlled product, Constant Climate. We've successfully moved millions of doses already of this, and I'm incredibly proud, and so are my team, of how we're able to do our little bit to help fight the virus and the pandemic. We continue to invest in our products and our operations, and Pete will be taking you through shortly how we're trying to make ourselves easier to do business with through our online booking platform, and show you how quickly and easy it is to make a booking on us. And finally, we're in a bit of a celebration mode here at IAG Cargo. We're celebrating 10 years since the formation of IAG Cargo. So after the merger of British Airways and Iberia and the creation of IAG, we realized very quickly that a single cargo business, a single cargo entity that could connect all the network synergies that we had from Asia to South America and the like, and access that entire wide fleet of a number of different airlines would be really beneficial to our customers. So it's 10 years that we've been in operation. We're going to be having a number of activities and events to celebrate this event and occasion. And so I'd ask you to keep watching this space to see how you could get involved in some of the celebrations that we're going to be having. That's all from me for the moment. Thank you for joining once again. I'm going to hand back over to Nadia.
Thank you, John. Next up, we have Pete Roberts, our head of distribution here at IAG Cargo, who will be giving us an introduction on IAGcargo.com and how you can book your freight on our platform. Over to you, Pete.
Thank you, Nadia and John, and hello everybody, and welcome to this event. Thank you for joining us today. So IAGcargo.com really is a customer-focused tool that seeks to make it easier and faster to do business with us. All the information you need for every stage of your shipments available on the website. With networks and the schedules of many cargo airlines in flux, you can find information about IAG Cargo's network and our scheduled flight times very quickly on the website every day. It's got a comprehensive overview of our products to help you choose the solution that best fits your needs, and the contact details naturally for our sales are handling our customer service for every IAG Cargo to make, change or cancel their bookings online, which you'll see a bit more of shortly. Tracking your shipment once it's been made is obviously very important, and you can do this through the website simply by entering your airway bill number into the form on the homepage. And finally, key operational information page. So IAG Cargo, a simple, fast and always available tool for your business. And now here's an e-booking demo that we recorded a little bit earlier on. If you could press play for me, please, Nadia.
I'm just going to demonstrate some of the key features of the e-booking capability on IAGcargo.com. So first I'll come up and click on New Booking. This will take us to the e-booking page where I'll enter my airway bill number and just click away while it goes and checks that the airway bill's mine, not being used by anybody else, and you can see that that's locked. I'm just going to select some Perform Loose. I'm going to make a booking for 3 pieces, general cargo commodity, going from Heathrow to JFK. I've got the option to add in tracking devices if I was using any, but I'm not. I can also add in any special handling codes and remarks. In this case, I'm going to say that the shipment needs to be kept upright. And then moving down, I'll enter in the information about my 3 pieces. So the first piece, 10 by 20 by 30, relatively small. And then I'll just click Add More, and I'm going to add 2 more pieces, 30 by 40 by 50. And there we go. I can extend this bit and just add in any dangerous goods pieces, but in this case, there's no dangerous goods going with this shipment. So just click here to select my routing and the date. Let's pick the 30th, 28th. Go from Heathrow to JFK. And search for flights. And then this will search inside our core booking system, bring back any relevant rates for me. As you can see, several different options brought back. I could look for different dates if I so choose. I've got the option to change the sort, so it could be by earliest arrival or shortest journey. I can sort by aircraft type if I particularly want. And you can see that in some cases, only Perform is available, other cases, only Express is available, prioritize. But I'm going to choose this direct route where Perform is available. Click Continue. Here I'm going to add in contact details so that if anything happens with this shipment and the operational teams need to get in touch with me to speak about it, they can do. Just add that in. And a phone number as well. In some cases you can add in the shipper and consignee details, but in this case not required because it's just some Perform Loose. I'll click Submit. And here I'll see a summary of the booking. So total price, hit Submit Booking. And this will confirm the booking in a few seconds for me. And there we have it, booking confirmed. So it's going on the 29th, Heathrow JFK. You can see the total cost, and then return to the dashboard, and then I can see that booking's there in place. Now, if I want to make more of this type of booking and set it up as a template, I can do that quite easily. So I can save as a template, give it a name. Click Save. And then if I click onto My Templates, we'll see here's the template, and I can see a summary of the booking so I know which template that's for, and I can see more details about it if I expand this little pop-up area. Then click on Create Multiple Bookings. And this is a way of creating repeat bookings that will book automatically. So I'll just select every Monday for a few weeks. Do that for 3 weeks worth. And then click Next. And here you can see I've got the 3 bookings, the different dates associated with them. It's all the same flight, all same origin, all same destination, exactly the same booking in every case. There's a couple of ways I can put in the airworthiness number. If there's lots and lots, I can just copy and paste it from an Excel sheet into here, or I could type them in individually. In this case, I'll just copy them from an Excel and click on the Submit Bookings. This doesn't create the bookings. What this does is it stores the bookings inside IAGcargo.com, ready to be submitted automatically once the bookings come into the live window. So if we go back to the dashboard, we'll see that those 3 bookings have been scheduled to be made for me at a later date. Right, showing another kind of booking here. Let's create some constant fresh for some perishable goods. So again, add in my waybill number, get that locked, and select constant fresh. And we'll do a unitized booking instead of a loose, so strawberries. And if I expand the handling codes, you can see that the perishable and fruit and veg special handling codes have been automatically added for me. Select that it's unitized and 1 AKU, do it. I'll make it quite dense, 1500 kilos. And then select the routing, we'll send it to Chicago. So the 29th again, Heathrow to Chicago. Search flights. And once again, this is confirming the right rate for my forwarder account. And then here we go, got a couple of options. And I'll select the first one, the 1295. Hit continue. Add in contact details for the shipment again. Same details as before. And this is purely used for operational purposes. There we go. Click to see the summary of the booking. Just check that that's all correct. So we can see fresh, AKE, there's the routing, that all looks good. So hit submit. And then again, this will complete the booking in a few seconds. And there we go, booking approved. You can see exactly the same details and return to the dashboard. And the booking's there visible for me at the bottom. And if I just want to do a track shipment to see how the booking looks, I just fill in the waybill number and hit track shipment. This is also available on the public part of IAGcargo.com, so on the front page. And again, not many statuses on this booking. It's just I've just booked it just now. Same information, and click back to the dashboard. But in this case, I'll cancel the booking. I don't want to hold that space for on that flight, so I'll just click on cancel booking, expand the thing, click cancel, cancel again, just to confirm that I really do want to cancel it. And there it goes. You can see that it's been removed. And there we have it, a couple of simple examples of how to make bookings on IAGcargo.com and track your shipments.
Thank you, Pete. Next up, we have Laura Akerman from VacuTech, who's joining us from Frankfurt and will update us on their high-tech solutions for your temperature-controlled shipments. You have the floor, Laura. We're just experiencing a bit of technical difficulty here. Laura will pop up soon.
There we go. That looks good. So many thanks for that, Nadia. And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone out there. Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk to you today. As John mentioned in his introduction, we've been very, very busy. And obviously, we've been expending a lot of energy over the past year or so with the pandemic. And that's actually what I would like to talk to you today about, energy, and maybe how we can leverage some of it to help us get back to normal. So just as an example, did you know that 70% of global energy usage is used for heating and cooling? So basically for temperature control. At VacuTech, we look at conserving this energy across many different industries. Although today, of course, really do want to focus on the healthcare and logistics, so the transportation of healthcare products and particularly vaccines. A vacuum is actually the most efficient insulator that we have. It doesn't take styrofoam or polystyrene or any other type of insulation like that to stop energy transfer. Actually, all it takes is a lack of molecules in motion to transfer heat. So you're surely familiar with an idea of a vacuum if through a thermos. Maybe you use a thermos to keep coffee or tea hot or an iced drink cold during the summer. We use exactly the same idea, a vacuum, but we now form it into different shapes using a core material to hold the form and the shape and cover it with a foil to create a vacuum within the shape. These are our vacuum insulated panels, or VIPs. Just as an example, how efficient is a vacuum? In this picture, these two boxes both hold the same amount of product inside. They also have the same thermal performance. That means the same protection from heat and cold. I think it's pretty obvious from this picture which of the two is going to be better for an air freight environment with the limited space available on board. Okay, so we know how to keep an external temperature at bay. What can we do then to help further maintain temperature inside? To do this, we use PCMs, or phase change materials, that store energy. Just like ice melting or water freezing, we use various solutions that have specific targeted melting points to maintain temperatures from minus 50 degrees to plus 40 degrees. Only temperatures below minus 60 require dry ice with our solutions. In this case, because dry ice really is the most efficient coolant for this temperature range. But from minus 50 to plus 40 degrees Celsius, we can do it all with phase change materials. So what does this look like? We then combine our VIPs, or vacuum insulated panels, with the PCMs, the phase change materials, the energy batteries, if you will, into different shipping solutions covering the entire supply chain, from APIs and ingredients across clinical trials to transport of finished product, and last but not least, last mile solutions, for example, into a pharmacy or even direct to patient. Today, I'd like to focus on our heavy air freight solutions, though, both the Vacutainer and the VacuPal, as our advanced passive solutions. So taking a quick look at the Vacutainers, these are obviously reusable containers which hold from 96 liters in the smallest vacuum case up to either 2 Euro or 2 US pallets in our XLX and TwinX solutions. They can be configured across any of the temperature ranges that we've mentioned and have a validation of over 120 hours during that period. These validations are actually performed under worst case scenarios using an empty container, so no thermal mass within it to help retain temperature, and tested at both consistent plus 30 degrees for extreme summer and at 0 degrees Celsius for winter portfolios. Let's take a quicker look at what a Vacutainer looks like. They're all built in the same manner, whether we're talking the small vacuum case or the larger units for 1 or 2 pallets. They're really designed for ease of use. Just open it up, load it, and go. So if we go around the case here, all of the ACUs, as you may have noticed on the picture, have different colors. Those different colors refer to the temperature ranges. So it's easy to see which temperature range is included and that you have the correct one. As you look at the door, it's a multi-layer shell protecting the vacuum panels. And you can also see sort of in the center that little circle. That's a space that allows us to check in a patented vacuum check methodology the performance of the vacuums to make sure that they're still in place. As a further precaution, we actually have 4 panels within each of the walls. So if one is damaged, we do not lose the full protection of and thermal protection of the wall. We've already discussed the sizes, but within the container, of course, we also have securing points for strapping the cargo. Going around the outside, all of our containers are forkliftable and set up for that. Across the feet of the containers, they're actually lined with fiberglass, so we do not have any metal on metal when we later load them onto the PMCs, onto the airline pallets. The door is sealable, and we provide some seals for you if the customer doesn't want to provide their own. We also have 2 sets of compartments for data loggers, one for the VacuTech data loggers measuring both ambient and internal temperatures, and a second compartment which can also be sealed, which can be used for the customers. Also a quick look at the VacuPal. As you'll see, it's quite a similar idea, but this is our single-use solution. So perhaps for geographies that are a little bit more complicated, or where routings might be difficult in cases of container return, or perhaps also where customs issues are anticipated, this container can be used. Very, very popular for emerging markets, and as mentioned, for geographies that might have a little bit more complicated of a customs regime. It's a very similar idea, of course, as you'll see. We've got the outside walls, in this case with cardboard, protecting the vacuum panels that are inside those walls. Each VacuPal has a unique barcode, so every single one is uniquely identifiable. We're also looking here, as the single use, at being as green as possible. So 97% of the materials used within the VacuPals are made from materials that can be recycled. Let's see, we've got a wooden pallet as a standard, but if there's a requirement for a plastic pallet, that can also be set up. And as you look inside, you'll see that it's very similar. You've got the same concept as in the vacutainers of those PCMs lining the walls to help maintain the temperatures within it. We're currently working with temperature ranges of -25 degrees, again, as mentioned, without any dry ice, up to +25 for these solutions. So, how well do these work? I think that's obviously a question that that many of you have, and what can we really accomplish with these types of containers with this advanced passive technology? Well, one thing that's important to note, and I already mentioned, our validations are at extremes, but the closer to ambient temperature, or to the outside temperature, the storage is, and the closer that is to the inside temperature, the longer the container can maintain temperature, of course. I think that's relatively obvious, but just as an absolutely extreme example here. So if this particular case, you can see there was about a 16-day storage period up front, that area in the large circle. The container was stored in the same temperature as the product temperature. And during this period, the container hibernated. So what you can also see is on the right-hand side of the graph, the container still performed flawlessly for the 4 days or so, about 100 hours that it was then in use after this hibernation. So we had some extreme peak temperatures, spiking with sunlight up to over 60 degrees on the surface, and still maintaining temperature inside due to that hibernating effect at the beginning of the shipment. As a second example, I know there are always concerns as well about potential freezing. Here's a winter example that we had. So you don't need to worry about the low temperatures either necessarily. So in this particular one, we also have that same hibernating effect in the middle of the shipment, of course, that you can see. But we also had some high temperatures reaching about 20 degrees, but also low extremes below freezing, both at the beginning of the shipment of about -5, but also down to nearly -25 towards the end of the shipment. As you follow the internal light blue line of the internal temperature, however, you can see that it's still maintained very much within spec. So if you do have any complicated moves, we'd be glad to run either calculations for you, or depending on the level of complexity, potentially even a simulation that can show what these containers can really achieve. Okay. Just want to quickly summarize here with, again, an overview of the portfolio. With the VacuTainer and the VacuPal are bulk distribution solutions, so really designed for the heavy air freight. And then our so-called small box solutions, which you may also see or potentially be using more for clinical samples, last mile type solutions, but covering the entire pharmaceutical supply chain. So many thanks again for this opportunity to talk to you today. If you have any questions, I'll obviously be glad to answer them either at the end of the session or through direct contact. Or, of course, you can also reach out to your IAG Constant Climate contacts and representatives. So thank you very much again, and back to you, Nadia.
Thank you, Laura. Next up, we have our final speaker, Jonathan Millick from Seabury Cargo, who's joining us today from Amsterdam. Over to you, Jonathan.
Many thanks, Nadia. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, all from wherever you are. I'm very happy you're tuning in. And I have the pleasure of being the last speaker today and provide you with a short air cargo market update. And as John mentioned, we've been through a very hectic year. It's been a busy year for air cargo. And I just want to give you a little bit of a picture of, hey, what does the air cargo market currently look like? And we're going to open with this slide. So what do we see here? So on this slide, we see the global major trade lanes. So as you can see, there's these arrows, and each of these arrows represent a specific trade lane on a specific direction. And on these arrows, you see a number, and the number is actually year-over-year demand growth, so the volume growth. And we're looking at 2021 January, comparing that to 2020 January, so pre-COVID. And what we can see is that global trade overall grew by 2.6%. So global air trade overall grew by 2.6%. But these 2.6% is not distributed evenly across the trade lanes. So as you can see on the over here, so on the right-hand side, you can see, for example, that the volumes on the Trans-Pacific, both on the eastbound and the westbound, are very, very strong. So we see a strong growth. And something similar we can see in intra-Asia trade lanes. On the other hand, when we look, for example, at the transatlantic trade lane, we can see a large imbalance of recovery. So from the Europe to the North America's trade lane, we actually look at a decrease of volume compared to January 2021 of 16%. While on the US to Europe trade lane, we can actually see a recovery of 1%. So there's a growth of 1%. So we can see lots of different dynamics across many different trade lanes across the world. But there is globally a growth of volumes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on the transatlantic trade lane for a bit. So we just saw on the transatlantic trade lane, we saw that the performance westbound was actually not that great. So here we're actually looking at January and February figures compared to the same period in 2020. And when we look at which industries, so we look at the same trade lane, we see still a very big difference among industries. So when we look westbound, and westbound being Europe to the US, we can see a good growth of automotive. So you see 4,000 tons of additional volume, so on top of the volume of last year. And this is something that John also mentioned, right? So we see a large demand from Germany, Italy, and the UK of car parts. So the automotive industry really is pushing up, is really growing on the westbound end. However, there's also, so this is a good guy for air trade on the transatlantic westbound. However, when we look at when we continue looking at the westbound, we can also see, for example, a large decrease in raw materials and perishables. In raw materials, we see significantly lower volumes out of, significantly lower out of France, Italy, and the UK. And for perishables, we see a large decrease of fresh salmon from Norway. Looking at the eastbound, we see a completely different dynamic again. So across the global trade lanes, we see different dynamics, but also within trade lanes, we see different dynamics across the various industries. So for example, in the eastbound, high tech, so this is US to Europe, we see a very large decrease of aerospace materials, but also of medical machinery. While if we look at chemicals, we actually see a very large increase of organic chemicals into the UK and Germany. And lastly, so raw materials. So this is also again looking from US into Europe. We see a very high increase of plastics and foodstuffs. So overall, we see eastbound performing quite strongly, specifically in specific industries such as chemicals, raw materials, and perishables. While the westbound has not yet recovered from the hit it took in 2020 due to COVID. And we see still a quite strong decrease of -12% overall, but with some highlights specifically in the automotive industry, where we see quite a strong increase of car parts from Germany, Italy, and UK into the US. So we just took a look at demand. So what air cargo is there in the market flying? But of course, we all know that the market is not only looking at demand, but is also very capacity limited at the moment, capacity constrained. And over here, what we've done is we've plotted out total capacity, but also capacity per type of capacity. So per either airline freighter, passenger belly capacity, or express freighter. And we've plotted that over time. So we've seen that we have that available here until the end of March 2021. And we can really see the impact of COVID with around April 2020. So you see the top line that we see here is total capacity on the transatlantic. And we can see that the capacity vanished almost overnight and decreased by close to 50%. So 50% of all capacity was removed from the market at some point. Since then, what we've seen multiple things. So we've seen freighters really jumping in there. So we can see both airline freighters as well as express freighters having increased their capacity quite significantly, with more than 25% for both of these. But we can also see that the passenger belly operations, like John mentioned earlier, passenger belly operations, specifically for cargo, have also slowly but surely starting to return into the market. Overall, this has helped push up capacity to roughly minus 20%. So instead of minus 15, we can see it slowly but surely increasing. But hey, we're still a long way from being there with passenger belly capacity still not being put back into the market. So hey, we can assume with still minus 20% capacity completely out of the market at this moment, we can assume that the capacity reductions will remain for the near future. All right, that was it from my end. Back to you, Nadia.
Thank you, Jonathan. We're running over a little bit. We do have time for a couple of questions. Had a question come through via LinkedIn for Pete, actually. So someone's asked, how can they modify a booking?
Thanks, Nadia. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to add that into the demo as well. Otherwise, I'd have occupied the entire webinar. So changing a booking is pretty simple. To the cancel option from the dashboard, you click on the little plus button by the airway bill of the booking you want to change, and then click on the edit. It'll take you into the e-booking page where you can update the details that you need to make the changes on your booking. And then once you're happy with the new details, hit submit. There's an e-booking guide on the website, which we'll share a link to when the recording for this goes out via email, so you can see what I mean a bit more directly.
Oh, thank you, Pete. And we have a question that has come through for Laura. Someone has asked, up to what temperature can vacuum panels be used at internally?
Okay, very good. Thank you for that, Nadia. We actually have a full range. So the vacuum panels themselves are not so much an issue unless we're looking at perhaps industrial type solutions, which I think is not what we're talking about here. But in terms of also using it together with the PCM, we offer the full range of standard pharma temperatures, if you will, 15 to 25, 2 to 8, but also the various deep frozen ranges, say around minus 20. We also have a minus 50 version still with the phase change material. And we can and do use the vacutainers with dry ice as well. So for a below minus 60, can also do that. So I hope that answers the question. If there's a follow-up, I'd be glad to take it. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. And we're just going to take one more question because we are running over. It's a question for John. Someone has asked, what aircraft are available for charters?
Okay, thanks, Nadia. We have access to the entire IAG fleet. So we have the 777-300s, 78-9s, -10s, 350s, the entire fleet is at our disposal. So if you have any questions, then please do contact the charter team. We'll be sending out all the links with the email addresses. We've got a specific charter email available for you, but all the fleet is available.
Thank you so much, John. That's all we have time for. So stay tuned for the invite for the next Cargo Live. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. Bye.